Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you a movie review. This time we're going to be talking about Saw, which came out in 2004, the start to, what is it, 7 films now. um, I call myself a big horror fan, a pretty huge horror fan, but I have never actually seen any of the Saw movies until last night when, after making my girlfriend watch The Vampire Diaries, she had me watch Saw, the first one. And this is one even as a horror fan, I kind of avoided. Not because I was worried that I'd be grossed out or something like that, because I've seen plenty of shit in my time as a horror fan, trust me. More so that, despite me being a horror fan, I enjoy gore and violence, but, the label that's put on the Saw movies is that's basically a torture porn, or basically just, blood and guts, and that's pretty much what composes the substance to it. But I'm kind of happy to say that my girlfriend was actually right, my girlfriend's an intelligent lady, and she has quite the high praise for the Saw movies. And then once in a while I do watch something of hers, so this is it, and honestly I liked it quite a bit. It's actually getting better in my mind the more I think about it as the day goes on. I did want to talk about the torture porn part a little bit. I've only seen the first one now. I have to see the other 6, so I don't know how the sequels really turn out. She says she actually likes them quite a bit. She says she thinks they even get better, I guess. But, I don't know how it turns out personally. Maybe it gets a little bit more stereotypical in the later movies. I don't know. But as of the first one, there's definitely a lot more going on to it than that. Sure, there are some brutal, violent moments and stuff like that, and there are, different devices and traps that would apply to that, but that's just a part of it, really. There is substance to it. I think this movie actually did a pretty good job of looking at the main characters' behavior, who they are as people, which I found to be pretty interesting. I should give you a basis for the story, even though I'm sure most of you know it by now. But basically, it's about these 2 guys who, basically wake up in a room together. They're both chained, to certain parts of it and stuff. And they basically all have their different backgrounds, but yet they end up interconnecting and intertwining as we find out more about them and stuff. And basically, the movie is both of these guys getting clues, or maybe not necessarily clues, but steps they have to take, who I consider to be more of the main character, Dr. Lawrence Gordon, played by Kari Alice. I don't know how to pronounce names, apparently. He gets a message that Adam, who's played by Lee Winnell, doesn't see, and, it's just saying how he has to shoot him in order to, progress in it and stuff like that. And meanwhile, later, Adam, once he looks at Lawrence Gordon's wallet with the pictures of his kid, he sees a message from who's ever taken them that, X marks the spot, and, he sees a picture of Gordon's wife and daughter, gagged and stuff like that. And then throughout the movie, we get flashbacks. We get flashbacks to basically who they were and what they were doing before they were taken. And throughout the movie, we find out a little bit more about the killer, who, of course, we all know is Jigsaw. Before I get into that a little bit more, though, we also had Danny Glover in this movie, who's a fairly well-known actor. I always remember him from Predator 2, even though I don't like Predator 2 that much. It's alright, but it was still kind of good to see him in this movie, and he is a pretty good actor. And, he plays basically a detective who ended up having one of his partners killed when he was going after who he thought was the guy doing all this. So he kind of holds a personal grudge against him. He's been taken off the force, but he's still trying to go about it on his own and stuff like that. And he played his role well, even though it wasn't quite as focused on as the others. It did come into play a little bit more at the end of the movie. And I am going to mention another guy who is in the movie, but I'll talk about that in a second. And like I said, Jigsaw, we find out pieces of, why he has him there and stuff like that. We see the flashbacks, we see how Dr. Lawrence Gordon, he has trouble at home, from his supposedly perfect life with his wife and daughter. We found out his relationship with them is very much on the rocks, or at least with his wife especially. We find out he's actually either been having an affair or he's about to have one. I forget if he was already doing it or not. But that's the dirt that's dug up on him partly. And then Adam turns out to be the one who is told to take pictures of him, and get proof and evidence of it and stuff like that. So that's kind of shown throughout the flashbacks, as well as him actually getting captured. And then Adam has his own shit going on as well, like I said, being the one who is actually taking the photos. Let's see, we don't find out as much about Adam in this movie, I don't think, yet, as long as I'm not forgetting something. I'm not sure if we're going to find out more about him again or not. But, because at the end of the movie, Adam's basically left to die, so they could kind of go either way with it. I guess they could just leave him there, and he's most likely dead, or maybe they'll show him again. We'll see. But, I did like how much they focused on Gordon. I did think the actor did pretty well portraying him. And, yes, certain parts of the acting, certain scenes feel a little bit over the top, a little bit overacted, excuse me, to a certain extent. But I did think the cast all did pretty well, Kari Lee, Tobin Bell plays Jigsaw, but we didn't see too much of him in this movie, but he does well for the insignificant appearance or so he has. And Danny Glover does fine too, like I said. And also Michael Emerson, he plays Zepp. And there's a huge twist in this movie. Basically the guy who's been running around doing all this directly anyway is a guy named Zepp, played by Michael Emerson, who a lot of people will know from Lost. He's in Person of Interest. He's done tons of other movies too. But he's the one who had been capturing them all again directly anyway. He is the one who is more directly there when the whole thing with Danny Glover's partner, or Tap's partner, is going down. But he ends up being just another guy roped into all this setup by Jigsaw. And again, I hadn't seen this movie, so I didn't necessarily know this twist was coming. But at the same time, I remember seeing various images every so often of Jigsaw over the years. How he looks more like an older guy. So I wasn't really buying that Zepp is already almost getting caught, and then this is only the first one. So I figured there would be some kind of twist like that as the movie went along. But still, I think it was a pretty cool reveal, and it turned out that Zepp wasn't the one behind it. He was just a guy, another desperate guy in the game of what Jigsaw's playing here. Or what Jigsaw is trying to teach them, anyway. And Michael Emerson did do a good job, once he's seen him on screen, once you see his facial reactions and his expressions, you can see the paranoia and desperation with him, which I thought was played pretty well. And Jigsaw himself, like I said, we don't see much of him directly in this movie, minus the dummy or whatever it is. But we do hear, voice recordings and stuff like that, and we, again, see him at the end, because there's this body laying in the middle of the room, and he ends up just standing up, but it turns out to be him, which I thought was a pretty cool moment, though. And Jigsaw has a pretty twisted sense of morality. We don't find out everything about him in this movie, but we find out a bit of what he's generally thinking. Basically that, he doesn't think people cherish what they have enough. He doesn't think people, he basically thinks people take their blessings for granted. And, so he punishes people at, just maybe not throw away their lives, but maybe just, don't play up to what he feels he's losing, And, my girlfriend has told me a little bit about Jigsaw before, he's actually dying of cancer, and so he's just trying to, put down the people he doesn't think are following what they should be doing, considering they're still blessed with life, and, he's really losing everything. So he does have a twisted sense of morality, which I find to be pretty interesting. I'm sure I'll find out more about that stuff exactly as the series goes along, I'm guessing. But I did find it interesting, and again, the best and main thing about this movie is, again, well, besides Jigsaw's twisted sense, which I talked about, again, just the general fear, panic, paranoia, and desperation of these two guys being locked in a room together, I thought was really well played. It mainly takes place in that one room, which I thought was really cool. That's really good. If you have two really good characters, or at least really good writing with them, that can last for a lot long. It really says a credit to you if you can keep them in there, and that's it. Even though, again, did kind of go outside with the detective and the flashbacks and stuff, I still think they did that pretty well. I like the one room main setting, really. I like that setup. I'm sure they'll expand like a house or something in the other movies, I'm guessing, but for now I like that setup. Again, there are brutal moments as well, brutal traps, a couple brutal deaths and stuff, which I'm fine with. I enjoy it. But the main thing is the psychological part of it, and it really makes this a psychological horror, thriller type of movie, which I really enjoyed, actually. But so of course, Taff ends up being killed at the end of the movie. Adam ends up beating Zepp to death, before finding out he is just another pawn in it all. And of course, that's when the corpse rises and reveals himself as John, the real Jigsaw killer. Adam tries to shoot John with Zepp's pistol, but is shocked by John's remote control and loses the reach of his gun. John turns off the light and leaves Adam to die. And meanwhile, Lawrence before that had cut off his foot and shot Adam in the shoulder to try and get to his family again, who had gotten away from Zepp after he was chased off by Tapp, but Tapp ends up being killed, like I said. But yeah, really cool ending, even if you sort of knew that Michael Emerson's character wasn't going to be the guy for the rest of the series. It was still a pretty cool twist, and I think they did it well. But so those are my main thoughts on the movie. I'm sure there's more I could talk about with it, but I actually really enjoyed Saw. Again, I'm not sure how the sequels turn out, but I'm sure I'll watch more of them with my girlfriend at some point down the road for sure. I'm actually probably planning on buying this movie at some point now. But let me know what you guys thought about the first Saw movie at least. Leave some comments below if there's anything more about you want to talk about. I would enjoy talking about more with you guys as usual. You can add me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and theformulaspolitica.com. Catch you guys next time, and peace.